All right, Mike. Hey, it's great to have you on tonight. We've been looking forward to this for the last couple of weeks, and you said to us, you said, "Hey, when I come back on March 7th, you'll know there's been some things that's happened." Okay, and let me just tell you, it's incredible. Some of the things that's happened on Tuesday night. I was just telling the folks, 1,500 lightning bolts striking Los Angeles, California, in 5 minutes. The pictures are apocalyptic. I've never seen anything like it. They say that they're saying there's a low volume. Okay, I've got this turned up. I've got Mike turned up. Mike, are you turned up all the way? Good.
Yeah, I'm up as far as I can go. I can hold this closer to my face, though.
Okay, that's better. That's better. Okay.
Is that better?
Yep. Okay. So, Mike, we got that. We've had the floods in Tennessee and Kentucky and the landslides. We've had avalanches in Colorado. We've had the straight line winds across the Midwest. We had the tornadoes in Alabama. We've had the frigid temperatures, weird, wild swings of temperatures, extreme temperatures. And, and now we've got this line over top the earth. And we've been showing this picture, and I don't know if you can see our broadcast or not, but it's a line, Mike. It's a line of clouds, it looks like. Not sure what it is, that goes around the entire globe. And they've got satellite pictures of it from the International Space Station, also the European Space Station. It's the strangest thing. Nobody knows what this is. And I'm thinking, we got to ask Mike from around the world. Matter of fact, Daryl Reichman said, you got to ask Mike from the world, is this from the 5 waves of energy? Oh, and by the way, February 26th, 27th, we had a wave of energy that hit the Earth, that the magnetosphere went off the charts, and it was on February 26th and 27th. So having said all of that, Jerusalem and flooding in Jerusalem, tearing down one of the walls. I mean, there's been some crazy stuff since you were last on. So, Mike, what's going on?
Well, we have a few changes. I'm sure that everybody should have seen that circle around the Earth. I think it was partly skewed around the Earth, and it was right below. It was held within the ionosphere. Now, that's about 62 miles above the surface. Just to let you guys know, about 310 miles to 621 miles is the ISS and other spacecraft. So they're above that point of the Earth. Now, as of late, the ionosphere, where right there at the tip of the mesosphere, there have been some fluctuations around the Earth. That part of the Earth, right before it gets to the thermosphere, which is going to cause that's an issue. But we've had some testing of sorts that have been going on. And we've had some tests, we've had some mitigation tests, and we've had some attempts to stave off a few things. So something is actively happening, and there have been some attempts to mitigate some of the effects that it would have on the Earth. When you have an atmospheric buildup by particles, you're going to have a difference in how X-rays, ultraviolet, visible light, infrared, all these different particles come into the Earth, right?
Yeah.
You're also going to have an increase in density. Now, in order to understand what was going around the Earth and what's about to happen to the spacecraft, I'm just, well, it's maybe premature, but I'm kind of shocked that nobody has discussed, or they haven't discussed or disclosed some of the issues with the spacecraft.
Whoa, what spacecraft? What's going to happen to us?
Well, we have the ISS and some other stations up there. I'm just kind of shocked that they haven't picked up on this yet. Anyway, that will speak for itself when it comes out, but I'm going to try to give everybody an explanation as to what's happening, because as these things take place, they're going to try to explain these things with some common jargon that everybody understands, which will by no means give anybody insight into what's actually taking place. Because we do have a galactic particle problem. We have a problem with galactic rays. We have a problem with auroral particles. We have a problem with solar protons. We have an issue with these things right now. And they're trying to explain everything in these common terms where everybody feels safe and they can't have insight onto some of the larger things that are going to happen in the future, right? So instead of them, before they give their explanations, normally I will pop out and give guys a heads up as to what's actually happening so nobody falls for the tricks, because we have a buildup, and we're going to continue to have this buildup of the ionosphere and the thermosphere, which is a fancy term for the higher atmospheres way out there in space where the spacecraft are. They are normally not so dense. They normally don't have a lot of particles in that region of space. Now, just to let you guys know, that region of space, now I have to explain this carefully. I'm going to convert this to Fahrenheit, because normally people understand this in Celsius. The thermosphere gets up to about 3,000 degrees Celsius, which is about 4,940 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot.
What?
That's very hot. Now, the spacecraft are in this area, but here's why they can stay there. Without molecules, right, there's no heat transfer. Okay, so you cannot feel that heat without the molecules.
But you know what, Mike? I always was assumed that it was deep space was really frigid cold. But you're saying, no, it's really hot.
Well, it's because there's in certain areas, right, like where the sun is, you have a lot of particles, so it's very hot, right?
Yeah.
Where the sun is not, you don't have any particles, so it's cold because there's nothing to transfer the heat. Nothing. All right. Even photons infrared, they're photons. They have to actually reach something to cause heat. You're not going to feel the heat if there are no particles.
Okay.
And so what space is very deceiving. It's very deceptive because it may seem cold by way of the absence of material. Let's just say material. There's no material up there. So where there's no material, there's no heat transfer, so you feel cold. But as soon as there is material, you have a superheating effect. Okay, and then of course the heat and the cold, which is on the spacecraft and sometimes in the cold, is you're looking at the particles hitting one side of the spacecraft, but no photons on the other. So where the photons don't hit, it's minus 200 and some degrees, and where the photons do hit, it is plus, or let's just say 300 plus degrees and minus 300 plus degrees. Okay. What's happening in the ionosphere is that we have inbound particles coming in all the time now, and they're building up to a high degree. This is going to cause some major problems. I mean, some major problems. As they build up, you're going to have a heat effect in the ionosphere. Now, it's imperative that spacecraft be cooled, right? It's imperative. It's some very hot devices up there that need to be cooled by at least minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures. That's going to be gone. So it will be too hot at a certain point to even have spacecraft up there. So you're looking at failures. The problem is they did not anticipate this. You cannot land the ISS. You can't do it. You can't land half the other space platforms up there. You can't land them anymore. Nor do you have enough fuel to fly them out unless they begin to refuel them and fly them out. There are too many. So here's what we're looking at. As these particles build up, if you had a picture of the satellites surrounding Earth, it's a lot of junk out there.
Yeah, we've got a picture of that.
A massive deorbit event. A massive deorbit event.
What? Wait.
This is more of an immediate issue, right?
Right.
This is why I'm explaining this. Because it will be good if people understood the context of what's actually happening out there. I know that we have these inbound particles and they are dangerous, but they're having an effect right now.
So Mike, when you say a deorbiting, a very deorbiting situation get ready to develop, so what you're saying is these waves of energy are bringing inbound chargeable particles in high density buildup in the atmosphere and the ionosphere and the stratosphere and everywhere else up there, and we're in trouble. This is why Elon Musk they said not sleeping at all. He's been told, look, you got to get a space station on the moon, I understand, to prepare for, so that when we send rockets with human beings to Mars, that we have some way to stop in between, sort of like a gas station to refuel, to keep things moving. Are they anticipating this pole shifts? Are they anticipating these waves of energy? Or are they anticipating space probes, or let me just say satellites falling out of the sky, or just exploding or disintegrating? What are you saying here?
Well, yeah, they know about that, but the satellites not being able to maintain their orbit in space.
Oh,
a density change, right?
Yeah,
that's a big problem. They have got to get something out there near the moon's orbit. That's a problem inside space. In fact, if something were to not hit the Earth, but hit any of those satellites, or several of those satellites, you're looking at a type of effect that would be a man-made meteor storm on the face of the Earth, which would not be good. Now, I'm saying that the ionosphere, which is right below, you have the stratosphere, right? That's where you have the jets and everything. Right there near in the stratosphere, the supersonics fly up there, and then you have the troposphere where your airliners fly. But above that, you have the mesosphere, then you have the ionosphere, then you have the thermosphere, and then you have the magnetopoles. Now, right below the magnetopoles is where spacecraft are. They're shielded too by the Earth's magnetic field, so they're right below that, but they're above the ionosphere. The ionosphere is the problem.
Okay.
It is very hot, but there was not enough matter in the ionosphere to transfer the heat. Now that particles are inbound all the time. Now this includes solar protons. This includes auroral particles. This includes galactic cosmic rays. As these particles continue to accumulate in the atmospheres, in the ionosphere, in this case, we're going to have a heat buildup of the ionosphere, which means you're looking at an unavoidable temperature rise in the lower atmospheres. You're also looking at a reflective effect, which means the air is going to become twice as toxic, twice as fast. You're also looking at a type of illumination effect of the ionosphere, right? A golden sky. I coined that a golden sky.
Yeah, you've been saying that. Yeah, you've been saying that.
So this particle buildup is going to heat that up to at least 440 degrees in the short term. Now, with that rise, how are these spacecraft going to cool? Some of them have small nuclear reactors on them that they launched a long time ago, right? They can afford, they cannot come down to the face of the Earth. 1 ounce of that material can contaminate 2 cities.
It's too radioactive. It's too radioactive.
Yeah, they are. And this stuff, the only way, you have to incinerate those things or to knock them out into space near the sun. The problem is that it's a game that we're going to eventually lose.
Now, Mike,
we really are going to lose this.
All right, now, Mike,
it will cause a chain effect. Right, there's going to be a chain effect, because if one starts to deorbit, it explodes. It's going to change its trajectory, hitting other stuff. The other stuff could go out, but it's going to be drawn back in. And all that junk we have stuck around the planet, we're going to have an issue with over a long period of time. And there's no designated, calculated area. These things will begin to fall in, because there is a lot of junk around the Earth.
Well, Mike,
placed up there.
Okay, now let's talk about this a minute, because some folks are saying they don't, like one guy just said this is nothing but BS. Okay, let me just read some scripture for him. All right, because here's what it says, that what Mike is saying is actually recorded by St. Peter in 2 Peter chapter 3. It says, "This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of the apostles of the Lord and Savior. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation." All right. "For this they willingly are ignorant of, and by the word of God the heavens were of old, the earth standing out of the water and in the water. Whereby the world then was being overflowed with water perished. That was the day of Noah's flood. Now listen to this. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto the fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord 1,000 years, 1,000 years is one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some men count slackness, but he's long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. But then he says this, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens, listen, the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. So, Mike, you're talking about a cosmic fire. You're talking about a acceleration. Is the waves of energy, is it Planet X, Nibiru, whatever it is, binary system, planet number 9, the dwarf star, whatever, as it's going by, the gravitational pull, the waves of energy, the waves of radiation, the intensity, it sounds like is going to heat up the chargeable particles. I mean, are we talking about 2 Peter chapter 3 here?
It possibly could. It possibly could. You know, one of the mistakes that we often make, like that guy that says, oh, you know, it's just made up stuff. Well, everything is made up until it happens, right? Especially for those with a type of denial mindset. Here's why. Because the Wright brothers, their daddy was a bishop who said that man would never fly. Imagine that one. The Wright brothers' dad was a bishop who said that flight was for the angels and that man would never fly, right? So there you go. It was impossible until it happened, right? Things, when you know about these things, if they begin to happen, right, and you have some knowledge of it, you're not shaken in your boots in confusion. You have a handle of what's going on so that you can still function while everybody else is freaking out, because we don't want to be the individuals that says, I can't believe that term. I can't take that term when something happens. I've been in too many situations where the unbelievable would take place. Real people died. And the first thing somebody yells out is, I can't believe this has happened. What do you mean you can't believe? That's almost like a soldier going to war saying, I can't believe we're at war. Well, what do you think we have an army for? Eventually, you're going to have to utilize everything you have planned for, one way or the other. But as these particles continue to accumulate in the ionosphere, we're going to have a heat transfer. And this is why global warming, you know, this whole concept of global warming, it did indeed start with a detection of the explosion of a certain object in space a long time ago. I discussed that. And it has nothing to do with global warming, but it has everything to do with the volatility of our atmosphere, right? Because a portion of it was knocked off. And then global warming became popular, kind of like a keyword for something else. How do we mitigate this? Because they have a focus. There's a focus right now, right? There's a focus right now. And how will the populace react when things can no longer be hidden? There are contingencies in place to confuse the public with things they desire to know. For example, you'll notice right now at the same time that our weather phenomena is really at a high level, at that same time there seems to be a type of soft disclosure of information people have not heard before. In other words, they're taking fairy tales, what people thought were fairy tales. Now they're disclosing the facts about those fairy tales, and people are becoming more interested in the fairy tales, now ignoring the weather phenomena, when in truth they should pay attention to the weather, right? And the auroras, which are coming by the boatload. They are coming by the boatload. In fact, I would say that we're going to entertain sometime this year everybody being captivated by the morning sky and the evening sky. Every single morning, every single evening, watch and see. Everybody's going to attempt to take photographs and everything else. What they won't understand is that our ionosphere is going to be so highly charged that the EMF potential, that electrical potential, is going to cause some severe power problems for everybody on the face of the earth. I mean everybody. Now, every electrical company right now is changing all their components. They know they have to do this. Some of the theoretical physicists have already approached most of the electric companies, and they have put in plans to go ahead and change certain ways that the grid operates, like the simple switch.
Well, Mike,
they no longer use a simple switch based on the simulations they have run.
Mike,
Plasma is not going to flow right, and where you would have 10,000 volts, or let's just say 100,000 volts going through a switch, that's going to turn into possibly 22, let's just say 22 million. Okay.
So, whoa. No.
Going through there, right?
So you're saying massive power surges.
Yeah, it's certainly at the switches, which is going to blow power stations. They have to change. They have to do something to every single power station within the U.S. Every single one. They cannot use the equipment they have now. So the modifications are about to be put in for that too, because the electrical potential of the atmosphere is going to be incredibly high, and so electrons are going to be attracted to other electrons, causing plasma streams, and that's going to begin to blow out things without a storm, without any type of external phenomena. The Earth's atmosphere will be so charged, it's going to cause a brand new set of problems we have never dealt with before.
Yeah,
so
Mike,
there's no real solution. There's only a theoretical solution, and nobody knows if that's going to work or not.
So, Mike, when you talk about this power, these massive power surges that are going to be frying the power stations, which we've seen happen one night, 14 different power stations around the world literally fried. In New York City, we saw it. It turned the sky blue.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So that's kind of what you're saying is coming. Can you tell us this power wave, these waves of energy that's going to bring these tremendous power voltage explosive surges, which I take it is because of the charged particles that are in the sky already making it that way. Do you also see a change in the asteroids, meteorites? Do you see that intensifying, even if they're just smaller or larger? What do you see there?
Well, these waves that are coming in, these pulses, right? It just so happens these pulses are coming in with garbage also. You remember that scenario about a couple of years back, and it's unavoidable. I told you about a debris cloud of types, right? That was headed, well, it's still coming. So that's unavoidable. Now, like many things, over time, much of that stuff is dust at first. Okay, it's dust. So some of the stories about red rain, blood rain, these things, people are actually going to see it. Pastor Paul, they're actually going to see it. And of course, the scientists are going to explain to people what that actually is, but I have to give everybody a side note. It does not matter how something happens. It matters that it happened. And the timing of it is the miracle, right? The timing of it is the miracle. In every single miracle of the Bible, it was the timing of what happened. That was the miracle. So when people entertain this red dust again, it'll be a durational event. It will start to form. It'll build up. Nobody's going to miss it because everybody's going to see it. And then when they explain it away and people get acclimated to it for a little while, but they need to know right now that precedes bigger particles. And then that precedes bigger particles. And that precedes bigger particles. So you're looking at a real meteor storm coming, not some meteor shower like we can expect in April or something like that, but a meteor storm. The bad part about a meteor storm or any breaches to our atmosphere is all the junk we have in the atmosphere. And here we go back to that junk again, this artificial garbage collection that we have around the earth. If something begins to strike those satellites, a small rock that could explode the atmosphere, if it hits one of those satellites and knocks it right into the earth, then you're looking at a potential bomb is what they have done up there. Now, Air Force Command has a job to go ahead and take some of these things out. And they have to do this all the time because every single week, something is degrading. Some trajectory is being degraded by way of the atmosphere is coming inbound into the earth, and it has to be destroyed, which is very expensive. They have a 24-hour day, 7 days a week job, searching, tracking, coming up with solutions, and getting rid of, in conjunction with the Navy, these things. This is 24 hours a day. They have to keep watch. They can't miss a moment, or something will slam into the earth. And this is every single day.
Folks,
this is without rest.
Folks, this is Mike from around the world joining us tonight. Mike from around the world is involved in, of course, does a great job, has for 5-6 years now, come on our show periodically, shares with us some of the things that are happening, never says anything that's classified, always it's stuff that's been released. Right now, there's almost 3,000 people here with us live on YouTube, plus everywhere else. If you all could hit the like button right now, if you would hit the like button, you will drive the exposure of this broadcast to another level, which means it would alert a lot more people that this program is live right now. And I feel like this is such a critical moment of what we're talking about as it relates to these last days. People have got to understand this is why we do this, not to bring you fear. Look, for the Lord hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. But to be ignorant is bliss, is an insane thing. You know, you have to know what's going on. Look, we read the Bible every day. It tells us these things are going to happen. Everybody just reads it and says, well, that doesn't sound good. But guess what? The things that are going to happen in the Bible, the events that bring it on are in process. So it's imperative that people hear us tell you and help you to understand, to get things right with God, and to also warn others, your friends. Thank you. All right, 300 of you just hit the like button on top of the 400 that we already had. Everybody hit that like button. Mike, let's get back to you real quick here. I mean, look, you're right. There's so much space junk up there, and you know that stuff's wearing out, and you got to dispose of it. I guess there's probably some kind of way they can do that by shooting them down. I don't think they do that. I mean, do they program them that they can make them just go drift away? What do they do?
No, they actually destroy them. They actually shoot them. They actually shoot them.
Do they shoot them? Do they?
You know, it's something a person should look into so they can become aware and say, wait a minute, there is a lot of junk. Because when things begin to happen on the surface of the earth, right, then they won't have they won't become too fearful. You know, I always have to remember that even the Bible said men's hearts are going to fail them for fear. Now, if I take that out alone, that means a heart attack. If your heart fails you for fear, you just had a heart attack.
You're going to die. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And the bad part about that is that fear can debilitate a person. Now, based upon what people are going to be exposed to, it is my humble opinion, they're not going to be able to handle what they see. Even if they know about it, they're going to have an issue seeing it.
But what if you didn't know?
That's another thing to live through it. And so these things, certainly the situation with the ionosphere, is a very threatening situation, but it's also one that nobody can change. They can attempt to mitigate it, and they have, by way of aluminum, or let's just say metal refraction back out into space from the sun's light. Because if that were not there, we'd have a bigger problem. Now, this ring around the Earth, I want you to take notice of something.
Okay.
It's like a cloud, right?
Yeah.
Below the satellites.
Yep.
But it's above where everything else flies. It's indeed in the cloud formations. Now, clouds normally are in the range of they go up in the troposphere, right? So in order to maintain that, you're looking at something up to about 10 kilometers or below 10 kilometers, I'll say, below 10 kilometers. Because a cumulonimbus cloud goes up to, its max height is normally about 5 miles or 8 kilometers. So whatever it was to hold that moisture must have been in that range, around that 8 kilometer range, which puts that, in the troposphere next to the stratosphere, where, it's constantly being fed by gravity waves from the Earth going upwards. And gravity waves are real. They come up, some of those come up from the Earth, and they are very important for the recycling of our atmosphere back in water and in the atmosphere, so on and so forth. But that dial goes all the way around the Earth. I ask you this: the importance, when people see something like that, the question is not that the ring is around the Earth. What in the world could do that? What could do that? What could actually compress? Now that looks like, because the Earth is somewhat. Well, I take that back, because a lot of people believe the Earth is flat. But we're
no. We're past that, Mike. We're past that. I think.
Anyway,
okay.
The Earth is spherical, right?
Okay.
So it has forces on it. When you're dealing with inertia, and when you're dealing with points of gravity that build up based upon a rotating object, and when you're dealing with electromagnetism, there's some very defined phenomena that can be calculated. That ring around the Earth shows up in the same spot that certain electronic formulas are based on. Even the offset is right there, right? Which means it very well could be an effect caused by the magnetosphere. It really could be an effect caused by the magnetosphere.
Okay.
Now, if that's an effect caused by the magnetosphere, we have a bigger problem, right? If that indeed is a fact, even if a hypersonic vessel flew around the Earth, it shouldn't have stayed there like that. It hasn't before, and there's been tests of hypersonic vehicles going around the Earth for a few years now, and they've not left a contrail like that. That is huge. That's a lot of material.
Yeah.
Tonnage is what that is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to believe that by way of the magnetosphere, because it's being influenced so greatly, there's a problem with the electrical current that the magnetosphere carries, and yes, the magnetosphere carries current. In fact, it carries enough current, it could kill all of us. In truth, it could really kill all of us. All those high-speed particles are using the magnetosphere like a highway, right? These charged particles use magnetic lines of force like a highway, and they're redirected just like a highway would redirect traffic. And so when you have that mixed with moisture, you have a process called ionization. If it's stuck in the atmosphere like that, then the Earth did not absorb it. That's leftover stuff.
So here's something, Mike. So, okay, we got the waves of energy that could be certainly causing this. Like you said, it can't be a big rocket. It's not Vladimir Putin's hypersonic rocket. It's huge. The amount of material leaving behind that trail is insane. No, I don't think that there's no rocket on Earth can do that for that long a distance around the planet. Mike, could we be also dealing with CERN? Look, could CERN cranked at its highest levels? And there's more than just the one CERN machine in Geneva, Switzerland. There are several CERN machines. What if they're all cranked at the same time at the same frequencies? Or is this beyond CERN?
No, I think to understand CERN, people are going to have to, if they really do the homework, because there's no way I can get into that stuff. People are going to have to learn about ATIP. Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. They're going to have to go ahead and look at that, not look at any life force related stuff, and they'll just discard that and look at the technology and take a look at DARPA. They're going to have to do that to find out exactly what's going on, because when you have these agencies that are funded by the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and they continue to create things in conjunction with the Department of Defense, you're looking at something that's global, right? Is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's global. This is global.
Effect.
Yeah.
You're also looking at a community of the greatest minds on the Earth getting together. Surely they're not getting together to make a brand new battery or to produce, some toy or something like that. The minds of the world are getting together for the sake of the world by mandate of the governments. Now the private funding everybody was talking about, right? Is also, there's something to that funding. So if a person did their homework and looked into these things to see how they're being funded, you can't trace it all the way, because a lot of that, of course, is in black projects. But the origin of it, in conjunction with the economy, right? And how they correlate between our economy and their operations, it's a big deal. So if you had an umbrella project over the globe, but you were hiding it right there in plain sight, in other words, you didn't really want people to know that the world was working on a collaborative effort of something, because that would scare somebody. But if you ever found that out, that they got together to try and do what? Well, it would have to be global mitigation of something else they foresee coming upon the Earth. It would have to be mitigation, in other words, efforts to stop whatever it is coming upon the face of the earth. Now we know that CERN has developed some of the most powerful magnets on the face of the earth. Indeed, they have. They are the most powerful magnets on the face of the earth, and they cause one of the most influential forces in regards to the magnetosphere ever, on the face of the earth. So by CERN in operation in conjunction with Star City and other places like that, they have an effect on the magnetosphere. They can redirect how the magnetosphere is operating. So they can actually begin to steer the magnetosphere. So I hope that's not too far for people to believe.
I hope not.
If you have the power to steer the magnetosphere, you can certainly concentrate the magnetosphere in certain areas to absorb particles. But we all know that we don't have enough information to properly do that. And if you steer in one direction, some other area is going to be unprotected. The moisture of that cloud-based cloud-based content around the earth is too heavy. It's too much. It's just way too much. Now, that's not going to go back out in space is the problem.
All right, Mike.
That's going to stay right here on the face of this earth. And because it looks like a concentration of particles, those particles are going to be dispersed. That has to be oxygen and hydrogen and nitrogen. And by the way, we breathe 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. So an increase in nitrogen can cause a sickness. It's also going to change the pressure we feel on the earth. With the pressure changes comes different health problems, and all this fits together. This show is probably too short to actually do that. And I have to get off my, I'm going to put some efforts towards a presentation so that it's clear understanding.
Yes.
But the more we know about this, the more we're going to know about certain things to come. There are going to be some frightful things. Now, but I give a caution, even though these things are forming and everything else, there's a massive distraction that will happen among men here very shortly. Now, with that massive distraction, Pastor Paul, a lot of people are going to forget about what's happening up there and out there. They're not going to pay attention to the effects upon the earth. And I can tell you now with the most assuredness, a type of a flood is coming. It will come. If you notice, the atmosphere is holding too much moisture. It's dumping too much moisture. This is about to double. It's going to double. With an introduction of heat, it's going to cause a larger portion of the water molecules from the ocean to be held in the atmosphere. That's a lot.
Mike,
storms are going to become so bad that we're going to see some real.
We're hearing
this year.
You're bringing up a great point, and I know we're running out of time on this show, but I'm having a conference, of course, folks, May the 13th in Blue Ash, Kentucky, or Cincinnati, Ohio. Excuse me, I said Blue Ash, Kentucky. Blue Ash, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. And that conference, John Moore is going to be with us, as well as Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero, and John Moore from the John Moore Show. Of course, John Moore has been was in Navy intelligence for about 10 years, and he was a homicide detective for the United States government for 25 years. He's done extensive research on Planet X, but more importantly, he sat in on meetings with Navy intelligence where Planet X and the effects of Planet X. Planet X is not going to hit the Earth. The effects of Planet X, the waves that Mike's been talking about, is going to affect the planet. And that water is going, because of it, the heaviness, he used the term heaviness of the sky, it's going to create massive rain bombs, and pole shift is coming, which will affect the fountains of the waters to break loose from this earth. Now, Mike, I heard him tell me this, and he's going to share some stuff only in that conference. There'll be no recording. There'll be no airing live from that. No recorders will be on. He's willing to share, whoever comes to the conference in a closed room session, some of the things discussed back in 1989, because they're now declassified. But there's things that people need to understand. And Mike, it's amazing, is you've been saying the last 2 to 3 times you've been on, some of the very things that he has said, that the water, the effects of it, the bombs, literally rain bombs, water's breaking out of the earth. I've heard you say there's a lot of water in the middle of the earth. That's,
yes.
Tons. And the Bible tells us, God separated the waters from the waters with the firmament or with the land or the earth. So we've got some events coming. Certainly these waves of energy are heating things up, radiation levels, all these things, Mike, that you've been talking about. It's incredible. And can we get you next Thursday? I'm sitting here just thinking we got to get you back quickly. And I'm preaching so many services in the month of March, but I am open on the night of the 14th. Can we get you back next Thursday night to continue this?
Yeah, we'll discuss that. We'll probably be discussing a volcano, but yes.
There you go. I was getting ready to ask you. What's the next big thing going to hit? Is it an earthquake? What is it? Okay, you're saying we'll likely be
discussing a volcano.
All right.
When I come back on. So,
all right.
But yes, Pastor Paul. And also, I do apologize for not having organized material that you can have in hand, because now's the time I need to completely define some things so people can have that. So
I would love to have it.
So it's not so puzzling to them, so they can see the whole picture.
If you could get us some stuff, we will show it next Thursday when you're on. You can tell us what we're looking at. Oh, Brock will feed that on there. It'd be great. Absolutely.
Okay.
I hope you can. That'd be wonderful. All right.
I'm going to do my best to make that happen. Certainly
all right.
The scale of things, which is, but that's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
That's an eye-opener.
Folks, Mike, I want to say it again. Thank you so much, and everybody at Council of Time. Thank you so much, Mike, for the job you're doing out there for us.
Well, God bless you, Pastor Paul. It's always a pleasure. It's an honor. It really is an honor.
Amen. See you next Thursday night on the 14th. God bless.